Where else? Oh my gosh. Get all kinds of. Okay, this is coming over your head, Bez. Oh, that was a great catch. Can you still get it? You want me to get you another one? You're going to get it? Okay, you can open these. We're not going to ask you how monkeys eat applesauce or anything. Oh, somebody want to trade? This is apple strawberry. I've got regulars. Anyone want to trade? This is regular, I think. Ow! Hit me in the eye. This is apple banana. I have red. Here, let me set those down. Okay, this is regular.
I'll take regular.
Okay. Regular. Regular.
I never thought of this. Katie was.
Apple strawberry.
Sure, I'll try it.
Okay. What in this chapter we just get started on some of the meat of adoption, and it says that what is it? Kind of.
I don't know.
Well, it says on it. What is it?
It's apple, but it tastes funny.
Does anyone else think it tastes funny, or does it just taste like applesauce? Look at the ingredients. If you just have applesauce, isn't it just apple concentrate, maybe some lemon juice, maybe? Okay. So every innovation starts with. It begins with a need or a problem. Okay. So the first time I saw this was on not Destin, Florida, but whatever's south of there, around
Panama City?
Even further south.
Daytona Beach?
No. Anyway, we were at the beach. Took the girls to watercolor resort is down there.
38.
What?
That's Destin. That's still
Maybe.
Destin, though.
Yeah, that's like
Van
in
Destin.
between Destin and Panama City. Fort Walton.
South Alabama.
Yeah, it was around Fort Walton. So we took the. I said, no, I'm not going to buy new shoes for 6 years, and we're going to take you all on spring break. And so we went down there, and so you see all kinds of crazy things. Lots of people, obviously, but sometimes in Florida, what you'll see is a lot of Europeans vacationing. That Florida, Walt Disney World, all that is, we're going to go, and if we have the money, we're going to go to Florida. And I saw a German couple with their stroller. Okay, the stroller, not the bobs, but the stroller with the little wheels like this, and they're going to take it down on the beach. And I'm like, oh boy. But what I saw as Dad's trying to maneuver this stroller through this gate thing, I saw him have applesauce or something, and it was a container like this. Okay? And so, opened it, squirted in the kid's mouth, and did this. And I was like, oh my gosh, how cool that is. And so the need was how I have something that's to feed kids, and applesauce is a great thing. It doesn't have to be a cookie. Applesauce is great. And they're not going to, whatever size I open up, they're going to eat 2 bites, and then they're like, I'm full. It's those kids, like, choo-choo, here it comes. And it's like, you got to trick me to eat more because my attention span's like a goldfish. And so it's resealable, right? Okay? And so it fits the need that I can use how much I want and then close it up again. Is there any other need there that this is meeting? Nathan?
Yeah, I had a guy that he was hypoglycemic.
Yes.
And so in high school I swam about 100 pounds ago. And he
A lot of that going around.
And so like in the pool, we would get done with the set and he would just pull out his little applesauce keeps going on blood sugar.
Yep, I need some populations. I need to be able to have some sugar right now. Yes, ma'am.
I know a steakhouse doing it too, used them, and they said it's because they have less dishes to wash.
A steakhouse.
Somebody said they put in applesauce, and they brought out the steak with like a little pouch of applesauce
Oh.
on it, and they were like, what?
So again, how much do I want? I don't want a big canister. You put it in the refrigerator, you forget it's there, and then you got mold growing off this thick after a while. And so I only use what I want. Expiration date, September 19. That's so. It was probably a year. I got these last fall when I was thinking about class. Yes.
I have a bunch of little cousins, and they all use it just because they can take it wherever, and it's less messy. And so trying to find a spoon to like put it in their mouth.
It's portable.
Yeah.
Kids can do it themselves.
So the difference, if you've got the great value one, you don't have this wing, but you could be pretty little and you can do this. Those of you who have the great value one, what do you think about the top? It's not as easy as this.
Yeah, you can get it off first.
Kids don't get it all.
How widely, oh, well, I hadn't seen this before, but the fact that there's a great value brand of it, is that any indication of how widely it's been adopted? Yeah, so if Walmart's doing their own brand of it, even if Go-Go Squeeze makes it for them, there must be a pretty good market on it. It's not just this little niche market. There's a bunch of people that are doing it, so it's been pretty widely adopted. When we talk about attributes of innovations, oh, not so good, huh?
I don't like applesauce really to begin with.
Oh, but you're a trooper. Good for you. Tried it. And for everyone that did. As we'll talk about attributes of innovations, we'll come back to this, but it does fit, it does solve a problem or does fit a need. If we say that, again, the innovation satisfies this need, what about the if-add cards, the scratch-off cards that we just did? What is the need there that it satisfies or solves?
What you got.
Yeah, this immediate feedback kind of thing. And so the idea that I can't make it, other than the computer, bless you, just let it out, you're going to lose an eyeball. And so we're trying to, other than definitions, it's really kind of the first concept that we're hitting on now is it's got to start with a need. If it doesn't start with a need, you might get some people to buy it, but that may be where it kind of ends. Okay? Any other? Yes, ma'am.
I got an innovation. I found them at Walmart.
Okay, you ready to share? Share.
Oh, there's some goat. They're bikes.
Goat?
Go-karts. Bikes. They're like
Pop-Tarts.
But they're little and convenient, and they don't get the crust off.
Now you don't there's no popping though, because Pop-Tarts you put in the toaster and they pop up.
These are bikes. How many people actually take the time to put them in the toaster?
Oh, you were so hungry you don't even, really? Oh. Well, Katie, what would you say as far as what happens after the toaster? Like quadruples the comfort value, doesn't it? Or you're not a Pop-Tart fan?
Pop-Tarts with the pink stuff on the inside? No, sir.
Yeah.
I will not be a
Brown
Pop-Tart.
sugar cinnamon?
They have them to brown sugar cinnamon.
We've got a whole industry of quick breakfast items that were built on that. Eggo, let go of my Eggo waffles, all those things that I don't have time. I slept too late. Mom and dad are deadbeats. We got to make our own, whatever. If your parents serve you, that's too bad. The little girls when they were with us, they always wanted crap like that. I said, we don't eat that stuff, at least not while you're around. Anyway. Anyway, got a link to that if you're interested. To this? Oh hell, she's an innovator. She's been doing this. Let's talk about a couple of discussion questions on here. What made Rogaine users, what made Rogaine users continue to use Rogaine? When you read that, are you like, what a cruel joke this is to play on people,
Yeah,
Katie?
I was just gonna say what you said. Like, how is that allowed? How can you do
Every
that?
industry does it.
I mean, maybe I'm just.
When you quit brushing your teeth, you'll get cavities, right? But you're
Hey, my hair one day, no.
Nathan, any
It's the same thing.
I mean,
anything you want to say?
That's how it was the first time.
That's why we have education, I guess.
Not everyone for male pattern baldness or receding hairlines. Some men, no big deal. You know, girls thinks it's sexy, but some see it, take it very personally. They just it just kills them, and so they're going to wear a hat. Ron Howard, the director of former Opie, almost wears a hat all the time because he went bald at like age 26, or very thinning hair. And so if it really bothered you, you'd say, man, I don't care what it costs. This is my image. I feel better about myself. But again, this idea that you had to keep using it, great for the company. They didn't intentionally do that. That's just as they came across this innovation, that's how it was, and then they just capitalized on it. But certainly, if you could think of if you have an innovation and that's what it would be like, okay. And I think that's like heroin, right? I mean, you have to keep using it. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. What do you
say? Carmex. Doesn't Carmex, like, they're not
A lot of
like...
chapstick does dry your lips out.
You have to keep using it.
Without, like, I think I've heard before, like, the Carmex brand, the yellow...
Yes, yeah.
Right, like, you put it on, it'll make your lips more chapped, so you have to keep on.
Oh, so if you didn't use it, you'd be better off if you didn't start using it. People that chew a lot of tobacco seem to always have a can of Carmex with them. True. People usually I got a can of Skoal in one pocket and a can of Carmex in the other. Yeah. Yes, kind of.
Apple is like claimed to do the same thing, that every time you update your phone, it's supposed to like slow it down so you buy a new one.
I think some of that was with, it was real with the batteries that it would. Now I think Apple's defense was it would slow it down to save the battery life, and so we're also in an era where we're not trusting anybody, and you're thinking maybe you can't trust Apple.
I don't know.
Well, they had that lawsuit. They lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely listen to you, everything you say.
Okay.
You'll be looking at something on... When I'll be sitting here in class, right, and we'll be talking about Carmex, right, maybe. So here in a minute, I'm going to open up my phone after class, and the Carmex ad is going to pop up.
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd say you don't even have to do the Google search. I just had to think it. Yeah. Number 2 has to do with electric refrigerators, and that there was, in some ways, you think it was a conspiracy, but if a refrigerator is not run by electricity, how is it run? How does it keep things cold? Which by the way, the greatest innovation, I should have said this first day, the greatest innovation ever is the thermos. Why is it the greatest innovation? It keeps hot things hot and cold things cold. But how does the thermos know? Okay. Back to the refrigerator. If it didn't run on electricity, how did it run? What was its fuel source? If you read that case, you might remember. Gas.
Wasn't it ammonia?
Wasn't it ammonia? What?
There was something with ammonia that had to do with the process of keeping it cold. It ran with like cold water.
Anybody feel confident? We had a lot of mumbling kind of out there. We had any confidence? I think I know this is how a refrigerator that doesn't run on electricity, how it runs. Like gasoline?
Yeah, like natural gas, right?
they ran off kerosene. But you just needed a fuel source. But I don't think gasoline. So it might be able to use propane. Let me do a quick. Maybe somebody's already ahead of me on that. Okay, they look like the normal ones, but it uses kerosene to heat the ammonia, and so then as after the heat source, then it cools, but it doesn't run all the time. Not that your electric ones runs all the time either. That's why you call somebody, it's your refrigerator running, and you say, better go catch it. But what is the market for somebody that says, I want to buy a refrigerator, but I don't want the electric model, I want the kerosene model? A restaurant doesn't have electricity in the restaurant?
Well, I'm thinking maybe like a big walk-in freezer, they want them to last longer.
They did last longer, yes. And so let me back up because I think that's the one. Which would be where? Where would you might not have a reliable source of electricity? In the woods. I live out in the woods. I have a cabin somewhere. Either it's prohibitive, the cost to get electricity to me, or I just don't want to live on the grid. And so this is available. I got transport kerosene, but maybe it's only the 1 month I go live there.
A lot of caterers too.
Okay.
We have a lot of Amish, and they don't have
Electricity, but they would have kerosene.
They have gas and like propane, so they use those a lot.
The point of your author using it as a study was the kerosene refrigerator was the one that was used by everyone. And then basically the appliance companies decided we could make more money if we pushed electric ones. And that's why you use electric refrigerator, why you're not doing a kerosene one. Now, did they do it because they would wear out faster? I don't know. But they did wear out faster, and that's what we're stuck with. But the idea was here you had this superior technology, this kerosene refrigerator, and we're still not using it. And now it's cost prohibitive because there's not the economy of scale, and you can go to Lowe's and buy a cheap refrigerator, or you had a dorm refrigerator that cost $100, and you'd say, well, I guess to have to haul 5 gallons of kerosene up to my dorm room, maybe that wouldn't have been safe either, but that's a first world problem too, yes.
Why do they have an option to buy 48 of them? We need 48 of those.
This one?
Yeah.
Hell, I don't know. Really good question that I don't have an answer for.
No, it says 548.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper if you buy that many. Now, number 3, I'm sorry, I'll talk softer so you can all hear me. Number 3 asks you to not just think out of the box, but to really apply your knowledge. How is it that this idea contributes to the trade deficit? And maybe I need to give a little background. What does America lead in? What do we do better than anyone else besides use drugs?
Go to jail.
That's not really an innovation. Spend money.
We import more than we export.
Okay, there we go. What do we export? Okay, we do export some raw. Interesting. And that's what we're talking about. We give away a lot of ideas, but we export raw commodities, and then we're kind of worried when we cut down the rainforest in Brazil and they start growing soybeans. How dare they? We grow soybeans. Okay, so raw ag commodities. Okay, anything else? Some technology. Okay, some software, and that's some of the issue with China, that China steals our software. Okay, what about entertainment? Do we do that better than anyone else? Okay? We make movies and action movies particularly, and all kinds of movies, and then they get distributed. So you have, here's what it costs to make, then here's how much were the theaters, and then here's how much we made when we distribute it worldwide, and that's as much as what it might be in the box office. So that's huge. And I do think about this, not that I think about some random things, but where do the smartest people go right now? For you, what industry do they go into? The smartest people. Where are our best brains going? Are they going back into farming? At some point, I think they were. I think we had really smart people, but now we just have people that can tolerate a lot of risk. Are they in medicine? We would hope so, but we're not so sure. So when I had surgery on my elbow at Christmas, they wrote no here and yes here, because they get confused a lot of times which one they're going to operate on. Right? That happens.
No, I had knee surgery and they put a big X on one leg, and
then it's like, ooh, what did the X mean? Was X the one we're supposed to or the one we're not supposed to? Crap. No one. I didn't read that memo. I really think it's in Hollywood. It's in entertainment. You could say it's being entrepreneurial and software and things, but I think it's really entertainment. And so the question, though, explain how the failure of Americans to develop innovations leads to a trade deficit. If we don't develop innovations, okay, how does it, you started it talking about imports, exports. Do you want to just finish it?
Well, but, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, we import more things than we're exporting. So, like, most of our clothes aren't made in the USA. They're made abroad.
Yeah, now that's not technology necessarily, unless it's the technology of things. But where would the best cars be made? Germany, okay, maybe in Japan, some maybe in Korea. Are they still made in the United States? You're okay if you say, yeah, I think they're still made in Detroit. I'm not sure if they are or not. But if the technology, if the best technology, let's just say it's in Germany, okay, the most innovations are there, and then we have to import that, then the trade deficit is we're importing that expensive stuff that we want, and we're exporting stuff, that raw ag commodities that we sell for $3 a bushel. Okay. So from a country standpoint, it's valuable to the United States to have innovations, and then we want to just take the innovations. We don't want to just give the innovations away. We want to have the production here, and then we can export to other countries. Okay? Some people would say education used to be dominated by America. Okay? Some of those old Western movies, okay, and they'll talk about the kids where they went to college. They didn't just go back east, they went to Europe. They went to Germany, or they went to France, they went to Paris. That's where they went for college education, because Europe had the best education. Are there any students here at Oklahoma State that are from other countries? Why are they coming here for school? Why aren't they staying where they are? They think this is a leg up. This is maybe better. Several years ago, I was in Ethiopia, and Ethiopia has had a relationship with Oklahoma State for a long time. After World War II, we did the Point 4 program. We went in and established some agricultural universities in Ethiopia. But we also welcomed Ethiopians to come to school here. And so I was told when I was there that we're not doing that anymore. We're not paying for kids to go to the United States and go to school, because they will go, and they'll go for several years, and then they went to Walmart. And they didn't want to come back home. Okay, so they wanted, how can I stay in the United States? Because wherever I'm from, whether it's Ethiopia or wherever outside of Iceland, they'd say, I want to stay here. I want to live the American dream. Okay, and so what happened for Ethiopia was we took our best and brightest, and we sent them to the United States for extra schooling so they could come back and be professors, and they didn't come back home. And so we had a double whammy. Not only did they not come home, or not only did they leave Ethiopia, but they never came back, and we paid for it. And so this idea that we should be able to control some of this ourselves is more than just balance of trade for the United States, it's for every country. When it's somebody else doing the innovations that we have to import this, then balance of trade, then we're importing a lot more than we're exporting. Okay? And so I think the example was, again, the VCR. The VCR, which Sony and Toshiba made, that technology was developed in the United States. And we didn't know what to do with it, and they did it. The Xerox makes what? Xerox, the company, X-E-R-X, makes copy machines. For a long time, you made a Xerox. You didn't just make a copy. But at Xerox, they invented the pull-down menu, the computer mouse, the laser printer, all this in their Skunk Works. Okay? Steve Jobs went there, and he had some deal that he had to make, and he said, I don't really want that, but I'd love to have what the Skunk Works is working on. Steve Jobs didn't come up with all those things for the Macintosh. He didn't steal them from Xerox. He just borrowed them from Xerox and then made his fortune. And so sometimes we don't know that this happens or it's going to happen. This chapter talks more about the hard tomatoes, talks about extension. On Thursday, I do want to spend time talking about land-grant system, land-grant colleges, extension, experiment station, and money just a little bit more. 4, how do change agents cause an increase in socioeconomic inequality? Or how do they cause the gap between the haves and the have-nots? How do they cause it to widen? They can get a change agent. I'm trying to get people to adopt new technologies or new...
I would say that, like, if they're going to people who can afford to, like, upper class of people who are, like, willing to try it and use it, that when they're in that stage between, like, it's still, like, trying to become a new innovation, like, they're trying to get everyone to adopt it, it can separate people who have access to that technology.
Okay, got an example?
Well, like, I was thinking of the one, like, in the book where it's talking about the hybrid corn. Like, I mean, even though they had the option to, some of the older farmers didn't take it. And so, like, when these younger, newer generation farmers were, having better yields and, making more money, then it could create a gap.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about this, but age, get out of your head that being younger is being more innovative. Okay, what you may have had is, we may have had more affluent farmers who could afford to try 40 acres of this, and if it didn't work out, no big deal. If I only got 80 acres and 40 of it is dismal, I can't take that risk. So it could be younger, it could be older, but it's more innovative. And we'll talk again later. Age doesn't have anything to do with innovativeness, but it does have to do with financial resources. So last week we talked about schools. The common denominator for innovative schools were how much they spend per pupil. So it's basically money. Okay, so if you've got this affluent school that has money that can be innovative, how does that widen the socioeconomic gap between the kids that go to that school and the kids that go somewhere else? I go to this school, we've got money, we can be innovative. Okay, you don't go to that school, you go someplace else where we're still doing crossword puzzles with pencil and paper. Okay, how does it widen the socioeconomic gap?
Gives you more opportunities.
Okay, so the kids that went to that school that spend more money, how is it they get more opportunities?
They have access to more things.
Like, let's say it's technology, these innovative teaching methods.
They have robotics or...
They were exposed to all these things. They had internships, and then they got into better colleges, which are better education. They got better jobs, and so it starts going like this. And I didn't know we didn't have that available to me, and so I didn't know that was possible. Okay? And so it happens in schools, it happens in organizations, it happens in companies. If you're more innovative, and what you're saying as far as the change agents, the more innovative person has contact with the change agents. I'm a farmer or rancher. I have contact with the extension people. They display these innovations. I adopt them. I make more money because I've been on the cutting edge of this. And the late adopters or the laggards, those people, they start planting hybrid corn 20 years later. Okay. I don't remember if we talked about this, but canola. Canola is Canadian oil. Okay. So canola is a smaller than BB-sized seed that we crush to get vegetable oil or canola oil. And about 15 years ago, Monsanto got involved and developed winter canola that would be Roundup ready, that we could spray with Roundup. And so farmers were trying to get people to adopt. And they've never grown canola. In western Oklahoma, all I grow is wheat. My grandpa grew wheat. His father before him grew wheat. That's all we do. Okay, we scratch the soil in September. We put some seed down. We put some fertilizer. We come back in May, June. We combine it. We disc it all summer long because we like to see the dust. And then we start all over again. Winter canola was an oil seed, okay, which is a different market. We can also spray with Roundup and kill all that cheatgrass and all those grassy weeds. But we had to convince farmers to plant that. Again, those farmers that had more resources, if it doesn't work out, no big deal. We tried it and it didn't work. But if I'm just scratching along the surface of my income anyway, I can't afford to take those chances. And again, I found out about it because I had access to those change agents, and that's because I'm more affluent. And again, the haves get more, the have-nots, it gets further and further behind, which is kind of frustrating. You'd say, this is funny, we're at this land-grant university, and we're saying basically that's how the world works, and we're on the inside doing it. So, didn't mean to be depressed about it, but let me skip to 6. In the land-grant system, we spend as much money on diffusion as we do on research. And what's the diffusion part? You hand those out. Okay, so just diffusion and extension are synonymous. So it's saying we spend as much on diffusing the technology out as we do on the technology. Okay, so what are the implications of that? If that's what we do, we spend as much diffusing the research as we do on the research itself. Because they're saying that doesn't happen in other industries. We spend as much on getting the research out to people as we do on the actual research.
I guess I would say that, what's the point of doing the research if people aren't going to use it? So I guess they think like they're taking the side of like, if we spend the money to get it out to everyone, to make it available to everybody, and, really push it if it's going to make things better, then what's the point of like not inventing it in the earth?
If it's going to make things better, we've got to do that. Otherwise, we have this great innovation like the Dvorak keyboard that's sitting on the shelf. Okay? And so it's not going to happen without us pushing. At least historically, it wouldn't happen. Okay? When we had 40, 50, 60% of the population farming. Now with a much smaller group, it's a little bit different, but it's why agriculture has probably moved as quickly as it has in the last 100 years. Okay? Now the question is, in the next 100, do we still have to do that? I don't know. There's lots of pressure to cut funding on extension. You may say it's 2019, we don't have to spend as much money on extension as we used to. Well, we don't know. Okay. Take a look at this article, Man versus Rat, Man Wins. Well, if we stay with this idea that it starts with a problem, Peyton, what's the problem? The problem is rats? If the problem is rats, the solution is rats at 5 cents each. What problem was the change agency trying to address? Yes, ma'am. The way they catch the rats, there's something wrong with the way they catch the rats, which is what? It's not efficient and dangerous, and so it's a health hazard. And so we're not going to change these people's livelihood, but maybe we could somehow make their rat catching more efficient, maybe less dangerous, and less harmful to their health. Okay? So for about $100,000, they could provide devices for about 4,000 families. Okay? They could catch more rats. Okay? Eat better. As the end says, we feast. We'd have more grain. You know, I know you're like, oh, geez, is more rats better? But they ate better, and then they had the grain that they were able to confiscate, and said, I've got enough money, I may be able to send my children to school. And you're thinking, and then what will happen, hopefully? Maybe you don't have to be a rat catcher. Maybe you'll be able to climb out of this cycle. Okay? Any other thoughts?
The fact that you can drink, they cover up the mat.
Well, you're hungry. You get rat, and be nice to have a side dish along with that.
I mean, it says that he has 9 kids, so I couldn't imagine trying to feed them, just normally, let alone in a third world country.
Got 5 or 9 kids to feed. Okay. Anybody else?
There needs to be more of that where the product is made locally.
It would be great if they could do that, to where then there was a company that. But they even said that even this, even at a cost of $25, the device is out of reach of most of the people that live there, and so they would hope that maybe they could get some banks involved that would do micro loans, because if your catch increases so much, you've actually made some money, and you could get a loan to actually do it. There's again a self-sustaining industry. Okay? Again, we're not just giving people things. We had to give people things to start, but now that it works, now we can have some other industries, Catherine points out, that might sustain it. The point just of this is, just want to spend too much time on, but some technology that seems very simple completely changes things for these families. And so it doesn't have to be Rogaine. It doesn't have to be a mechanical tomato harvester. It doesn't have to be Coumadin, blood thinner. Anyway, $100,000 we throw around a lot. We could make tremendous progress. Just lastly, before you go to today, again, the Coumadin, I hope you were able to read that story. So in dairy farms in Wisconsin, we had cattle on sweet clover. The sweet clover stems would puncture cows' stomachs, and so we didn't really plan on coming up with a blood thinner as a result, but we came up with a rat poison. And the rat poison worked because the rats would bleed to death, and then they'd be thirsty, they'd come looking for something to drink, and you knew that it actually worked. And then we figured out that if people took it in low doses, we may be able to prevent blood clots in people. And so warfarin is a popular rodenticide, but it's still used widely for people that have blood clots and heart attacks. And again, it didn't happen because we were looking for that. It didn't. In that case, it didn't start with a problem. It just kind of happened upon us, which is kind of cool in itself. On Thursday, I want to spend some time talking about the land grant system to give you a little primer on that. Okay, again, next Tuesday, no class. Okay? No, now we're into a series. So next Thursday, you'll have a worksheet and a quiz. Okay, because we have to scrap Tuesday because we'll be at an Invisible College meeting in Birmingham. like I kind of did that. Okay, thank you. Susie, take the GRE.